he wanted to include everything, bit of Dravidianism,
That's right.
a bit of, the best aspects of all political leaders. That's what he wanted to take and make some kind of an amalgamation. MGR's appeal wasn't limited to any one particular demography. It was far and wide. It reached interior villages. Even today, if you go to an interior village and speak to some old people, they would come out and vote, not just for a political party. They still say we're voting for MGR and voting for the two-leaf symbol.
That's right, yeah.
It's very nice to put out these cutouts and compare oneself, but in practical life, things are different.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vijay Srinivas and this is Talking Sense with Srini. In this edition, we're discussing actor Vijay's much anticipated second political conference since he launched his outfit, this time in the iconic city of Madurai. Political observers say the conference could serve as a launchpad for TVK's full-scale campaign, marking the beginning of a head-to-head battle with the heavyweights. Joining me to discuss more is our editor-in-chief, Mr. S. Srinivasan. Thank you very much, sir.
Hi, Vijay.
Hello, sir.
Come back to your favorite topic.
That's right. always interesting. So Tamil Nadu politics is heating up right now, and because of Actor Vijay's second political conference in the city of Madurai. What do you think this particular Manad is so unique?
See, this is a convention, a kind of a annual congregation of all the party men. Is a kind of a practice which is followed by all the Dravidian parties. So they essentially have at least one such a gala event in a year. And this is particularly important for Vijay because the first one was held in 2000, I think it was last year.
That's right, Vikramandi.
Which was in Vikramandi, and it had lots of controversies surrounding whether he'll get permission, whether the area was enough, and whether he can pull it off. Finally, he did. He, kind of, that's where he declared a kind of ideology of the party, which wasn't very clear. And what he said was two things. One is that he's politically opposed to DMK, but his ideological enemy was, BJP. That's what he said. The other thing he said was that there should be some kind of an alliance, which he was actually pushing towards a certain discussion on the issue that in Tamil Nadu, when you see there are two formations, one led by DMK and the other AIDMK, the other parties form part of the alliance. They are in the pole position, but they never allow other parties to actually, they take the help of these parties to come to power. They get enough seats in the assembly, but they never share the power. So you will never find a coalition government in that sense. So he wanted that. That was another thing he pointed out. And there are a number of other things he spoke. So there's a lot of expectation that time that, finally what is he going to do and how is he going to shape his party. Now, a year down now, we are seeing another, kind of a mass congregation, which he has organized the conference in Madurai, which is a historic city. It's a cultural capital of Tamil Nadu. It's famous Madurai Meenakshi temple and other things. And it's also a politically very significant place. That area has always played a very significant role in Tamil Nadu politics. So it's more evenly, keenly being watched. What is that Vijay going to do here? Because there are a number of question marks. Having launched a party, having spoken about his ideological positioning which he would take, which was kind of quite muddled actually, if I may be very frank, because he wanted to include everything, bit of Dravidianism,
That's right.
a bit of, the best aspects of all political leaders. That's what he wanted to take and make some kind of an amalgamation. So, so there was a expectation, but in last 1 year, it could be also a stock taking by observers that what has he done actually, what has he achieved, and what is he going to say in this conference. And therefore, this conference coming on the eve of elections is about 6 to 8 months away, becomes significant.
Okay, you said some kind of an amalgamation. Hope it doesn't turn out to be a khichdi. But, most importantly, this time in Madurai, we see major cutouts in Madurai, and, reporters were also talking about this. One is with of CNN Nadurai, and the other one is Dr. M.G. Ramachandran and actor Vijay as well. Potentially, sort of perhaps hinting that, he's next in line to take on the mantle. And Vijay is certainly the arguably the number one sort of blockbuster hero here in Tamil Nadu, actor here in Tamil Nadu. And you see, and we also see significant crowds coming in as well. Large crowds mean large votes. How do you see it?
Look, the names which you mentioned and the pictures which he has put are significant.
Mm-hmm.
See, Annadurai is a major political leader here, and he transformed the politics of Tamil Nadu. In 1967, he finally became chief minister after leading DMK to power, and that was the first time when Congress was unseated and Dravidian party became a ruler here. And then they never turned back. Congress could never stage a comeback. So it was extremely transformative in that sense, that the politics of this state was completely turned on its head, because the Congress is a very powerful political force here. Also the left parties, but then Dravidian, movement, which had born from self-respect movement, which
That's
had
right.
precedence even before bit of independence, and that assumed a political role. And Annadurai gave a political shape to that movement, which was earlier an ideological movement done by Periyar and others. He gave a political, uh, kind of image and a shape to that. And then not just that, he came to power on the basis of that and became chief minister. Therefore, his cutout signifies that there is something transformative about him, and therefore he perhaps Vijay wants to kind of allude to that fact that
That's right.
he also want to do something like that. The second one he is, of course, is MGR. Now, MGR is another major person who was pretty transformative. Despite being part of DMK, and he was even treasurer of the party along with Karunanidhi, he had difference of opinion, and they broke out. And he not just broke out, he came out and formed AIDMK, which turned out to be at one point of time, even now, a bigger party than DMK with a large following. And his appeal, MGR's appeal, wasn't limited to any one particular demography. It was far and wide. It reached interior villages. Even today, if you go to an interior village and speak to some old people, they would come on and vote, not just for a political party. They still say we're voting for MGR and voting for the two leaf symbol.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the impact he had left on the minds of the population here. So, in that sense, Anna and MGR are the two majorly transformative politicians of Tamil Nadu who have turned around the politics completely. Perhaps Vijay want to reimagine himself as someone who could turn the politics upside down and maybe bring some kind of a change. But I must pause here. This is perhaps his wish list. Whether
Okay.
it will come true is a different question.
But for any changes like this, you need a huge wave to happen, right? So but do you see green shoots of the wave happening in the grassroots level?
Well, what we are forgetting is that both these two worthies I mentioned, whether it is Annadure or whether it is MGR, they have been part of various other, the
Political outfits,
political
right? That's
movement
right.
earlier. They were part of that movement. They had led that movement. Annadure, as I told you, was one of the founders of DMK, along with then later MGR was also in the same party. And he was in politics for nearly 10 years before he, carved his own path. So for nearly a decade, he was there. And therefore, they all have grown and they had a powerful ideology, powerful appeal, and they were also very good communicators. A lot of things went for them. And then the atmosphere then was ripe for bringing a new kind of
That's right.
politics, and which is remarkable because Congress party was still a very powerful force all over India, because fresh coming freshly out of
Independent.
independence, and that appeal continued. So they broke all that and broke the mold and could create something new. But has Vijay done anything like this? I mean, rather than I asking, I pose a question to you. Has he done anything like this which may make you feel that there could be something which is extremely transformative, which we can see in the coming next 6 months?
At least not at this point of time. We don't really see it.
Exactly. So that's where it is. So it's very nice to put out these cutouts and compare oneself, but in practical life, things are different.
Manada that's going to happen tomorrow is also, sort of falls quite closely with, that's right, with DMDK's patriarch's Vijaykanth's birthday. And, Madurai is also, interestingly, is his birthplace, right? So, and there are political analysts say that, Vijay could also be sort of, eating into the vote bank of Vijaykanth. How do you see this politically play out?
Yeah, so obviously there are politicians here who switched from cinema into politics,
That's right.
and some of them, I mean, there is a whole list of them who have come out. Even Muka Muthu,
Mm.
eldest
Karuna's
son,
first.
yeah,
So,
eldest son, he even tried. After that, Shivaji tried, T.
yeah,
Rajendran tried, and there are other
Karthik Hussain,
also
yeah, lots of other people.
actors who tried. uh, Shivaji Ganeshan, who actually couldn't do much, though he was considered he was a big star. Kamal Hassan, as you know, hasn't
Now became
made
Rajya Sabha
any.
MP.
But if you really have to look at mass politicians,
Hmm.
who could really pull audiences, masses into theatre. I mean, if you look at actors like those, then they are limited. MGR was one. He had a massive following. And in that sense, you have now Vijay also,
Hmm.
who has a mass following. The only other person who has a huge fan following is Rajnikant, because Rajnikant, declared himself self, kind of self,
Spiritual politics and all that.
yeah, something he said, and then he went out of
Yeah, that's
the
opted out. Yeah.
yeah, he opted out. So there are actually, if you have to think about Vijay, Vijay is one politician
Hmm.
who has a mass appeal,
Hmm.
who's a kind of a crowd pillar. So he would like to position himself in that sense.
Hmm.
But then the question which you asked is DMDK and
That's right.
Vijaykanth. Vijaykanth is one politician who tried this route. He is again a cinema actor with massive following, but not a superstar. But he had a following of himself. He was at some point of time described as Karupu MGR, a kind of
That's right. Yeah.
but he wasn't fully, because that whole journey of political journey was cut short by various other developments. But he did make a huge mark. At one point of time, he got a 6.5% vote share in Tamil Nadu. And in his first outing, he contested from all the seats with his own political party, DMDK, just only one seat of himself,
Very,
and
yeah,
he
that's
lost
right.
everything else. But in the next outing in 2011, he allied with Jayalalitha and won a good crop of 29 assembly seats, and came next to AIDMK and overtook DMK. DMK was pushed to number three
That's right.
position. As a result, since Jayalalitha got a majority of her own, she didn't require him.
That's right.
So
He became the leader of opposition.
he had to sit in the opposition. So he had that kind of pull. And later, when he died in 2023 in Chennai, there was a massive crowd which came out. People came out in hordes to see him off for his last journey. And that really surprised people. How come he was basically out of politics for a long time? Because after 2011, subsequently, there was a decline in his appeal.
Hmm.
And he couldn't pull the same kind of thing in politics. But in personal life, he was still regarded as someone
As a
remarkable,
great human being.
as a great human being. And people had actually gathered in large number to pay some kind of respect to
That's
him
right.
for his good deeds. So possibly Vijay wants to, kind of acquire those kind of imagery which could be useful him for his own election campaign. And perhaps therefore, as I said, cultural capital and other things, Madurai being an important point, and also electorally, it is a very significant vote which comes from there. Tamil Nadu always, Madurai and the place around has played an important role, and therefore perhaps he want to do his campaign from there.
Okay, one last question there, sir. Right now, both alliances seem formidable, DMK and the Congress, and BJP and the AIDMK on the other side. And Vijay is likely to go solo as we speak right now. But do you still see that the options are still open? There could be some kind of changes because the day is too long in politics, that there could be some kind of changes in the political equation in the run up to the elections.
Well, no one can say with any certainty that what might happen. As you correctly said, politics can change. It can change very fast. But what is very obvious is when Vijay declared that he's formally joining a politics and he's taking a plunge, and he also has announced his political party, there were a lot of expectations. There were expectations whether a portion of AIDMK would come out, or some leaders from DMK would come out and join, or whether other party leaders. In fact, nothing of that sort happened. So one of the biggest negatives for him is there's been no, he couldn't attract any great talent from outside. I don't know whether it is by design or it simply didn't happen. One doesn't know, but it didn't happen. So he couldn't pull people from all other political formation. That is important because after all, even if you look at other leaders like MGR, they had a very good set of politically savvy supporters who knew the ground, leaders who would actually do a lot of backroom job for him. And he doesn't have that kind of a backing, that kind of a support, and he couldn't attract anyone. So the whole thing that he could be snapped by any alliance, that didn't happen. Neither he went with AIDMK nor with, of course, BJP declared as a ideological enemy. So people were thinking that okay, he may ally with the AIDMK. That doesn't happen. There were some talks that he may even ally with somebody like Seaman. That also didn't happen. In fact, he's been very critical of him of late. Seaman has been criticizing TVK, is the Vijay's party, very critically. Uh, so, so therefore, it seems that he has actually not been able to pull anything or being part of some other alliance. So he's more or less a solo. He has to play uh, on his own. That's what it appears to be. Now, the question is whether there could be any movement in the coming days, whether he can join any alliance.
That's right.
Because in the past, as I've shown, as I've discussed with you, there's at least one example of DMK not doing well on its own, but then when it became part of the AIDMK alliance, it did very well. Alliance politics always works in Tamil Nadu. So therefore, being outside an alliance, whether he just turns out to be a spoiler, whether he cuts away, takes away, bits of vote here and there and harm political parties, or whether he can actually convert some of them into victories is a big question. But as of now, it doesn't appear that he could be part of any alliance. But then, as you correctly said, there's still some time to go.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you very much. A pleasure talking to you. Thank you.